Oh, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another Emerald City Hockey Post Game Live after another shootout loss for the Seattle Kraken. This team just cannot get anything done in the shootout, can't get anything done in the third jersey. It's brutal. So you had shootout curse, you had third jersey curse, and then I guess you could say post game live curse, although it felt like we were getting over that one, and it's not on the normal night, right? We're on Wednesday Eve's Eve. So I don't know that we can count that curse. But boy, these third jerseys, man. The Kraken, I know everybody loves them, although I'm seeing already in chat a lot of people saying they're never buying this jersey. But I know people love the third jerseys. I know people like having a new jersey to go out there and buy, right? You want something that's a little bit different and all of that kind of stuff. Kraken really need to consider next time just not having a third jersey. As boring as that is, as plain as that is, as difficult a choice as that would be for everybody involved, third jerseys, anything that is not just a standard home or away jersey is just the most cursed object in Kraken franchise history. There is nothing else that comes close to the level of curse that a different jersey carries for this team. Absolutely insane that's just the case. I don't understand it. It makes no sense. Never heard of anything else like it really in hockey. It is one of those things where I feel like this is going to be a topic of conversation for me. I think a little bit is just like comparing this game to games in years past, and not for the Kraken. I mean, like in the NHL's past. If this happened like in the 90s and a team just could not win in their third jersey, they would just stop wearing them. Like the coach would just be like, "We're not wearing this jersey ever again," and then that would just happen. That's obviously not going to happen here, but it is just kind of crazy that the Winter Classic is still like the lone victory in anything that's different for the Seattle Kraken. We'll get to everybody in chats comments in just a second because I see them all here, but got to take a moment to thank our wonderful sponsor, Queen Anne Beer Hall, for sponsoring Post Game Live, just like they do each and every week here when we have these. I tell you, it is. I'm still like in the midst of travel. I'm still not even going to be back in Seattle until the 6th. And I miss Queen Anne Beer Hall. It's been way too long being away from Queen Anne Beer Hall. I don't like it. I don't like it. But if you're leaving the arena listening to this right now, go ahead, pop down that little bit of a hill, go to Queen Anne Beer Hall, pick yourself up a $5 smash burger, check out the beer specials, $8 beer after these Kraken games. Good way to spend the rest of your evening, let the traffic go, all of that good stuff, and check out the beer hall there. All right, we'll jump into everybody's chats here. First one, starting us off with B. We may have broken the post-game live curse, but the third jersey curse and shootout curse, question mark, live on. Also, speaking of curses, poor Catton has almost scored like a dozen times now, and it just keeps not actually going in. Yeah, lots of curses. We kind of touched on the third jersey curse. I think that one's pretty solid at this point. But man, the shootout curse is another one. And I know like in this one, Kevin Lakenin, top shootout goalie in the league, something insane like a 900 save percentage right now in the shootout, which is absolutely ludicrous. And it's just, one goal in favor of Vancouver. And so you can kind of like, I guess, go with that. But I think I do wonder, we've talked in the past about the Kraken struggle in the shootout, and we've talked about it very much just through the lens of like, well, they don't really have that like kind of stick handly guy, right? The guy who's going to go in there with all the fancy moves and make that high skill play. That's just never really been the identity of anybody on the Kraken. Freddie Gaudreau is probably the most like that of anybody, and certainly he showed off some fancy stick work tonight in the shootout, and he was able to make a lot of moves. Lakenin, to his credit, did not bite on any of them, and I really think Freddie was just like pulling every trick out and getting a little bit more and more desperate as he was encroaching in on the crease there, waiting for Lakenin to bite on something. Freddie was dangling so many different things in front of him, and Lankinen, to his credit, stood strong, just sat there and said, "No, you actually have to make a move before I'm going to pull myself out of position." And he just kind of waited Freddie out. But I think there's something interesting. If you're listening to the KHN broadcast of this one, Edzo all night long, starting from like the first or second shot on goal when Capo Caco had that opportunity in the game, talked about Kevin Lankinen's glove side being bad, and how if you can elevate on Lankinen's high, glove side, you go high glove side on Kevin Lankinen, you will score. That is his weakness. That is where he is deficient. All night long, Edzo was talking about this. So that's obviously the book. Edzo is a smart guy. Eddie Olczyk knows hockey. He knows modern hockey. He covers not just the Kraken, but the entire rest of the league. If his book is saying something about a goaltender, I don't need to double check it. I trust his information and what he's telling me on the broadcast. If he's saying all night long, glove side, high glove, high glove, high glove, and then you get to a shootout where you don't have to worry about defense, you don't have to worry about any other factors factoring in, you just have to skate one-on-one against the goaltender and pick your corner essentially. And none of these guys go high glove. That's suspect to me. And Edzo was calling them out during the shootout. And so it's making me wonder. I wonder if the shootout struggles are Kraken just don't pay attention a lot to the pre-scout, right? And I'm assuming they've had multiple different coaches at this point, so I can't imagine it's a coaching thing. I don't think Lane Lambert isn't letting them know the pre-scout or anything like that. It's making me think that it's just the guys. It's just the players don't really think about that. They don't really go into the shootout with that in mind. That's just not part of their routine. They just kind of go out there and they try to make something happen. And that I'm wondering if there's something there. And I'm wondering if Edzo being so, I don't want to say aggressive, but I can't think of a better word right now about it during the broadcast, maybe means that there's going to be a little bit more attention to that next time the team is in a shootout situation. And maybe we see a different result. I'll call it right now. If the next time the team is in a shootout, we see a different result than what we got tonight, I'm going to credit Edzo talking about this, and I'm going to say that they just listened to the pre-scout on the goaltender and they found the weakness and they just went for the weakness there. Sorry, I just need a little help with Afra here. So I'm thinking that that's what it is, potentially, but it kind of felt right tonight listening to all that. And then as for poor Berkeley Catton, I'm with you, B. Poor Berkeley Catton. He's playing so well. Happy to have him back from the injury, by the way. Got to see him a little bit right before the winter break there. Came back. I think he looked good. It was a little bit of rust in that Kings game. He was able to shake that off. Or in the Saturday game, able to shake that off. I think he looks good now. I think he looks good. I think he was back to playing like Berkeley Catton in this one. The better the players he's with, I think the better he looks. I think he's really learning to exploit defenses in different ways and kind of go for different areas on the ice. He's really probing and seeing what he can get away with at the NHL level. But between him kind of doing that exploratory process, he's finding those gaps. He's still like making plays, right? And I just love to see that from him. And you can tell that his confidence is really, really growing in all of this. Jamin, curses are only void against the Kings. Shane too looked really unlucky. Yeah, I thought Shane had a good game in this one. It felt like having McCann back, Shane was kind of like, okay, I'm going to take the back seat shooting wise and play a little bit more to the perimeter. That being said, it also felt like he was playing a little bit more powerfully, and he was trying to make space for McCann when they were out there on the ice together. He was trying to drive lanes, suck defenders in over to him. I think about that chance in the third period where he comes in, he button hooks, he circles around, he's got that defender glued to him. That defender's already committed to him. And then Jared McCann was able to split that seam and come in, and Shane with the nice little backhand pass over to Jared McCann. Lehkonen made an incredible shoulder save on it, but what a great opportunity from Shane Wright. And I like seeing that from Wright. Shane Wright has always kind of wanted to, if he can, charge down the slot. And if he's going to start doing that more, he is going to draw that defensive attention and defensive focus. And as soon as he does that, he can then exploit those opportunities, right? If he can't take advantage of it, because they're gonna be really glued to him and they're gonna be in front of him and he's not gonna be able to get a clean shot, something like that off, him starting to understand that, hey, look, I can still make a play from this position, and him having a winger like Jared McCann who can see this opportunity develop, who can recognize it and choose the right areas of the ice to go to. I think that that's something that could be really special. I think the big thing is just going to be consistency in line mates for Shane, and Shane should be able to develop that part of his game. But yeah, on the shooting side of things, he's almost as snake bitten as Berkeley Catton, and certainly Capo Caco tonight. If we're going to talk about guys that were cursed and unlucky tonight, Capo Caco had some incredible chances, and just all of them stonewalled. Like there was just nothing he could do. Vader, I'm never buying this jersey. It's tough. It is really, really tough. The third jersey curse. Like I said, it's at least we know it's not like this particular jersey. It's just the idea of any jersey that is not a standard home or away jersey. That's it. that's the problem. And Maddie, I had a lot of faith in Freddie. Like I said, Freddie has a skill set that nobody else has in the shootout. Freddie Gaudreau, able to go out there, incredible stick work there, just wasn't able to get Lehkonen to bite on anything. And so I think most of the time that's going to work. Most of the time, you fake that shot, you make one of those first moves that Freddie makes. The goaltender is going to bite. He's going to open up somehow, and you're going to be able to exploit him. Based on watching how he handled all three shooters, again, I think the book on Lehkonen is that he just outweights shooters, in which case you just need to try to pick the corner on him. So again, I feel like this one it's not so much like on Freddie. I think it's kind of on the collective for not taking advantage of the goalie that they were playing. That, he is the best goalie in the shootout in the league right now. So maybe it's not too bad. Dave talked about how cursed the jersey is, not buying one either. Yeah, we'll see if this third jersey sticks around for next year. Like if it's going to be a more regular third jersey type thing, I could see it. And then, we'll see about like if they're able to then get wins moving forward. If it's not going to stick around, then, they're going to start, they'll clearance them at some point, and then you can pick one up and you don't have to worry about the curse anymore. It's an idea anyway. Jason, loser points tastes like 8th to 10th overall pick. It does. I see B agreeing with that. It does. This is the worry with the Kraken this year, is that if they don't make the playoffs, they're probably going to play themselves out of the top 3 or 4 picks, where you're going to miss out on a really, really special player, as they have the last couple of years. And so that's the nightmare scenarios, that you maybe go 3 years in a row without being able to truly get one of those difference making talents in the draft, all the while you're not really competitive in the grand scheme of things either. This year has felt a little different. It feels like this team is more competitive than the last 2 years. They obviously went through a brutal stretch for the last month and a half, not trying to just ignore that at all, because that is very serious. But certainly now that they're on this point streak, because it's no longer a win streak, they're back to feeling like they are competitive, at least in a way that I just never really felt like they were last season. And we'll see how long they stay in the mix. I mean, points percentage wise, I haven't checked the updated standings after tonight, but they were a wild card team based on points percentage. They are very much still in that mix. But yeah, I think for this team, the nightmare scenario is that you pick somewhere in the 8 to 10 range again, or even lower, which is possible if they were to miss the playoffs by just a couple points, say, in the standings. It's possible this team all of a sudden is picking 12th, 13th, 14th. That's a really, really bad spot to be if you're the Seattle Kraken. And I know RJ has a kind of a point to make about this, and I'll save it for him either later here or tomorrow when we record Deep Dive. But I very much agree with his point, but I want to let him be the one to say it. Rogue Wave Creative, that goalie has not given up a goal this season in shootouts. Crazy. Again, he's playing really well. I understand why. After watching him face 3 Kraken shooters, I understand why Kevin Lankinen has just been a wall on the shootouts there. But damn. Jenna, I'd put Newman in for wins, but also glad he scored. Yeah, I still don't like Yanni Newman not being in the lineup. I think Yanni Newman needs to be in the lineup to learn the things that it's obvious Lane Lambert wants him to learn. And I certainly think if he's not going to be in the Kraken lineup because you want to go with a specific look or, to frankly ride guys that are a little bit more complete right now, game-wise, in Ryan Winterton and Jacob Melanson, who I'm hoping there's some comments about Melanson. I'd love to talk about him tonight. I think if that's going to be the case and Yanni Newman's not really going to be able to crack your lineup at the Kraken level, especially as guys are starting to get healthy now for the Kraken, send him to Coachella Valley. Tell Coach Laxdal down there, hey, make him focus on this, this, and this, right? All those, the play away from the puck, the back checking, all that stuff that you feel like is missing from his game so that he's not in your lineup regularly, and give him that assignment in the AHL. I'm sure Yanni would be disappointed by that. He's worked very hard to get to the place that he's at right now. I know he's disappointed right now not being in the lineup, as all players are. But I think at some point you have to consider sending him down to the AHL level with the mindset of working on specific things, because how else is he supposed to learn them if he's not getting game reps? So I'm generally with you, Jenna. It's a long-winded say. I'm with you there. Bryce, I dislike shootouts and respect that every Kraken player looks like they do too. They do. They really do. It's kind of insane that it's just this way. Oh, it's so tough. It's so tough. And lots of talk about the third jersey tonight here from everybody, just getting in on it. Asking if they could go back to the Winter Classic jersey from Cheryl. I don't see why they couldn't. Like, you could, I would think that you'd be able to run that back. I guess maybe not, because it's an Adidas. So now that Fanatics, different jersey manufacturer, I guess you can't probably go back just from a rights standpoint. But maybe your next third jersey from Fanatics looks like the Winter Classic jersey. Maybe that's an option. I don't know. It's possible, maybe. Sean, I had a 4-game win streak wearing that ugly third sweater, but the Kraken need to just stop wearing it. Yeah, it sounds like they need to stop wearing it. You need to keep wearing it, if that's the case there. And then Kraken Queen, I so wanted McCann to get the Gordie Howe hat trick. Yes, wanted Jared McCann to get that hat trick as well. We still just need somebody to get it. We still need an answer to the trivia question of who had the first Gordie Howe hat trick in Seattle Kraken franchise history. And Jared McCann would have been such a fun answer, right? He's not the most traditional gloves off fighter kind of guy, but also, he does have a little spice to him. He is willing to shake things up, as we saw tonight, where he very much asked Connor Garland if Connor Garland wanted to go, and it seemed like was really setting things up before the commercial break. And then they came out of the commercial break and they fight off the draw. I really think like he would be a fun guy to do it. And certainly he's going to have lots of goals and opportunities there. Just a shame that wasn't able to get it tonight, especially because for a lot of tonight, any goal that he would have assisted on, it becomes the game winner for you. And so that would have also been cool to see, to get it, not just get it, but get it in a win and really feel like he made like this huge contribution to the team. Not that he doesn't anyway. But I think that would have been really, really cool. And Jenna saying Canner held his own. Yeah, it was a good little matchup there between him and Connor Garland. It's a shame that the elbow to his face wasn't called. That it had to escalate to the point where McCann feels like he needs to stand up for himself and fight Connor Garland and draw Connor Garland into it. I do want to credit Connor Garland for dropping the gloves in that scenario. I don't obviously agree with the choice to throw the elbow in the first place, but we're seeing more and more in the NHL guys not want to drop the gloves there. And I'm not trying to open the whole can of worms of should fighting be allowed and all of that kind of stuff. But given the state of Department of Player Safety in the National Hockey League, some of the situations that we're seeing around the National Hockey League, including the Matt Barzal Mason Marchment incident just yesterday in the Columbus game against the Islanders. It was in Columbus, yeah. I just want to say that I do respect Connor Garland owning up to his action there, fighting with McCann, and good on McCann for landing some good punches there and standing up for himself. Again, should fighting be how problems are solved and how people mediate between each other? No, there's a reason we don't do that in real life, or most of us don't do it in real life. Definitely not advocating for violence being the answer to things, but in a competitive physical sport like hockey, with the history that hockey has, and given the alternative that players turn to because of the lack of action from the Department of Player Safety, to the point where we're seeing players openly use sticks as a weapon and then only get fined afterwards, as was the case with Matt Barzal on Mason Marchment, the fight doesn't seem so bad. And so I know we've gotten pushback in the past about fighting, but that is kind of my thought. I would rather have two guys square up in a very regulated fashion, like the fight, versus seeing somebody two-hand swing their stick into somebody's knee, the way that we saw in the game the other day, and all the other terrible things that we've seen throughout the years. You know, Tom Wilson on Artemi Panarin and all of those kinds of things, right? I think that it's unfortunate that we're in the situation where fighting feels like the safe answer to these situations. Rogueway Creative, really enjoy hockey, enjoy watching the Kraken. That said, feel so bad because I almost feel like they should not make the playoffs and draft higher, but not sure they can handle that. We will see. Again, it's probably in the franchise's best interest to draft high, to try to land a Gavin McKenna type, a Christian Bearhoff type on the back end, even a Stenberg, just a player who's putting up ridiculous numbers in the Swedish Hockey League. I think any of those guys step into the Kraken lineup, and within a year or two, they're the best player on the Kraken, like no question. And they can become a difference maker for the Kraken and help lead them to more consistent playoff appearances. That being said, I think the fan base could really use, a wild card berth. I think that there would be a lot of benefits from that. I think it makes the team look legitimate again to free agents, to guys who have to submit their no trade lists come the off season, right? I think if you can be one of those teams in the top half, one of those teams in the playoff picture, there's a lot of benefits it can do for you and your ability to acquire other players not through the draft. So I think, they gotta do one of them. I'm getting close to RJ's point that, again, I wanted to save for him, but that is the idea. You gotta kind of just do one of them. You don't want to be caught in the middle, which is kind of where they've been. Gabrielle, is there a goalie style that just fits better with shootouts? It feels like Joey always commits really hard and ends up getting bitten compared to some other goaltenders. You got it, right? You answered your own question there, Gabrielle. If you're a goaltender who's going to be really aggressive and try to cheat to what the shooter is going to do, the way Joey Decord very much does in shootouts and at 5-on-5 and other situations, that you're at a disadvantage in shootouts, because shooters are going to learn that. They're going to try to make moves, have you bite. It's going to open up other areas of the net, and then they're going to score on you. And that is, of course, what happens with Joey Decord in the shootouts. It's what happens with him at times on 5-on-5. And I'm sure you've heard RJ at various points in time talk about how Joey is one of the best lateral movement and lateral save making goaltenders in the National Hockey League, because he loves to cheat off of his post to try to push across. He's always anticipating that cross ice pass in the zone, right? And he's always getting over there. And it's great all the times that it works out, because it makes him look remarkable, right? He's able to get across all the way through the crease and make those incredible saves. Every so often, though, there are times where somebody fakes the pass. Joey pulls off his post. He starts going. He starts cheating early. Sometimes they don't even need to fake the pass. He just thinks it's coming, and he just starts going, and it opens up the near side net, and guys are able to take advantage of that. I think the same thought process gets him in the shootouts, where he just anticipates something. He feels something's coming, and he makes the move for it. And sometimes it works. It worked on the on the Pedersen shootout attempt, where he was able to get a stick in there, kind of disrupt that opportunity and everything. But it did not work at all on the Ogrim attempt, and did not benefit him there for that one. We've got RJ joining us here. RJ, how's it going being back at Climate Pledge Arena?
Well, it's nice to be back. I'll just say that to start off. It's good to be back here, enjoying the game in person. Everything feels like I was gone for a while, and especially missing the game last night. It doesn't feel right to have a game going on here, and I'm not here.
Yeah, no, I know. What were your thoughts on this one tonight as the Kraken fall 3-2 in the shootout?
Overall, I think I agree with a lot of what we heard from Jared McCann and Lane Lambert are the two that he'll kind of pick out, because Jared McCann said overall he thought the Kraken played pretty well in this one. He liked the team's effort. He thought they peppered the goalie with shots. They generated a lot of shots, a lot of shot quality, and I agree with him there. Lane Lambert said if we play this way, most of the time we're going to have pretty good results. And I guess I agree with that in theory, but in practice, this is what is just, this team is baffling, Dylan. Like, that's been my biggest takeaway, not just from this, but from the last, really all season. It's just, this team is baffling. And I'll go into it in depth on the deep dive. Like, this is not the place for it, but it really feels like the better the Kraken play, the worse results they get in terms of wins and losses, and vice versa. And I think the win streak all falls into that category. And I think this game falls in that category. I think this might be the best game the Kraken have played out of the last 5. It's the one that they don't win. I don't know what to make of that. I really don't. And again, I'll go into it in depth on the podcast, but that's my big takeaway. I thought the Kraken played pretty well tonight. I was all ready to talk about, a nice hard-earned win and how they're, turning things around play-wise. They'll keep the winning streak going, but they don't get the 2 points. A point is still good. That's fine. And actually, compared to the other teams around them in the playoff race right now, a lot of them lost in regulation again today. So they're gaining ground. It's not a big problem. I'm still baffled that they didn't win this one.
I am too. I am with you on that. It did feel like the Kraken did enough to win this game, they should have won this game. And I know, I came into this post game, and if they're in there, I haven't hit the comments yet, but based on Discord and stuff, I was expecting a lot of comments about the officiating in this one, and a lot of people having issues with the officiating, even though the Kraken did have 5 power plays.
I didn't have a big problem with the officiating.
I didn't either have a big problem with the officiating, but my big point for that was going to be, you still should have won. You were the better team all night long, right? Whether the officials missed a couple calls here and there shouldn't have changed the fact that you should have been the team walking out of the building with 2 points. It should not have even gone to overtime. So I am with you, and I understand the kind of general enigma that this team just is.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much a preview for tomorrow, but I've got charts, I've got graphs, I've been building my whole case that I just don't know what to make of it. But yeah, I think the shots were 19-5, at least for the Kraken to the end of the game.
Yeah,
in a tie game, you should that should reward you with a win. It just should. And especially power play and overtime, and they set up some good plays, just couldn't convert. I don't know. I'm just still left baffled by it all. And I think the players weren't necessarily baffled, but I think they just, they weren't getting down over the loss. I think they all realized they played well.
Yeah, well, and that's a good thing, because they should feel that way. One thing, though, that was a topic of conversation already on postgame, and certainly it was for Ian and Eddie in the booth tonight. It's the Kraken not elevating the puck. We got Carl here talking about the Kraken can't elevate. Angela talking about how Edzo's always saying to elevate, and we never seem to. Edzo's main point all night on Kevin Lakin and RJ was how bad he is high glove side. He talked about it from that Capo Caco opportunity at the beginning of the game. He was like, you got to elevate that puck. Kevin Lankinen stinks up there. And then all shootout long, he was also hammering that point home. And the Kraken never did try to shoot there during the shootout, RJ. And so just your thoughts on the Kraken's inability, it seems like at times, to elevate the puck, and then also maybe them not taking advantage of what I'm sure their pre-scout is telling them when it comes to the shootout, and maybe that being the reason for their struggles, because that is very much a theory that I proposed at the beginning of Deep Dive, at the beginning of Postgame Live tonight.
Yeah, I think it could be a piece of the Kraken struggling to score this season, and also just generally as a franchise with this core. I think there are a lot of games where you look at the pre-scout and they're not really doing in the game what they need to be doing that you say goalies should be good at. I will say in the shootout at least, I was alerted by someone from Vancouver that Kevin Lankinen does have the best shootout save percentage in
Yes.
the NHL this year, so at least there is that. But I mean, didn't they target the high glove once in the shootout? One of the attempts was it Everly or Tolvanen who did?
It would have been the last one from
So
Everly.
Everly, I thought
Because
Everly did target
yeah,
it.
Edzo was losing his mind at the Tolvanen opportunity because he tries to go back to the side he just was. He's cutting laterally across and he tries to
That's
go
right.
back to
Yeah.
the blocker side. Edzo was losing it.
Yeah, I heard some interesting things from this game again. I didn't have the chance to watch the broadcast, but sounded like Edzo was definitely had some strong opinions tonight. And as far as lifting the puck in general, like I think he's right. That is kind of the book on Lankin in there. And the Kraken did have a lot of plays with a lot of time to get those spots as well. You know, I think especially on how much 4-on-3 time they had in this game. And I know they convert on one of them, but still, you know, in overtime, maybe you want to set something up and just target that spot with time and space.
I was actually surprised. I think arguably the only sequence that I would be critical of the Kraken during a non-shootout situation this whole
Yeah.
game is the 4-on-3 power play to end overtime. That's the only time it felt like the Kraken kind of played passively, like they were waiting for an opportunity to just spring into existence for them instead of forcing the issue. One of the things I thought that I was really impressed by with the Kraken tonight, and why I'm with you that this game was better for them than any of the previous games, even though they were winning those previous games, was how aggressive they were at trying to create opportunities for themselves and taking areas of the ice that Vancouver was giving them. Like we saw so many shots in this one from just kind of that area right to the side of the slot and them
Mm-hmm.
going into there because that seam was open on both sides of the ice all night long. There was clearly a gap in the Vancouver system that allowed the Kraken shooters to get good opportunities from those areas. And Kevin Lankinen, to his credit, made some incredible saves with his upper body on several of those sequences. But the Kraken were able to get multiple shots during several sequences there. I was so impressed by the Kraken doing that. There was lots of player and puck movement to make that happen. And then you get to the 4-on-3 power play in overtime, and it all disappeared to the point where only 3 of the 4 players ever touched the puck. Like for that last sequence to end overtime, you can't have that. I know you're tired. I know you've played a long game, but like that is the time to go for the kill, and they just didn't.
Yeah. Well, they didn't look tired. They just looked a little almost jittery. And maybe I'm projecting a little bit because everyone feels those nerves in overtime. They're everywhere in the building. You know, if you're a fan or anyone watching, you know the overtime nerves. It felt like it trickled down to the players there. Like knowing this was their opportunity, it felt like they double clutched, they hesitated a little bit. They weren't playing as loose as they had been really all game. And it's hard to explain because I think the Kraken they should feel pretty natural in these situations by now, given how the season has gone with all the close games they've been in. I don't know. Again, that one was hard to explain.
Yeah. Just if I had to be critical about something tonight, that's really the only thing I would be. That and go for the glove side in the shootout. I know Eberle did, but he did not elevate it. Not
Or
much
maybe
anyway.
try some different shooters. I have no issue with Gaudreau. He's the shootout ace.
Yep,
You got to give him a
sure.
shot. You know, maybe just once try something a little different. Adam Larson's right there. He's always been right there.
I think could be a good option. I know somebody mentioned him earlier. Why not?
Yeah, I bet you know who can target high gloves. Chandler Stevenson. I hate to say it, but Chandler Stevenson, and he's been on a roll. Like I would have probably gone with him if I wasn't going Larson.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'd be okay.
But I've given up on making suggestions for this. They're going to go with who they go with, and they're not going to score. So
yeah. It must be in Ebbs's contract. That's all I can think. There is a conversation. Yeah, a conversation that happened earlier in chat in here. I haven't touched on it, and I think we could be quick about it. But just around Matty Beniers and him only having 4 goals on the season and him maybe struggling offensively. I will just say, like, yes, he was the 2nd overall pick. This was never part of his game. The offense has always been the place where he's been most efficient as a player, going back to before he was in the National Hockey League, before he was drafted. That's just the kind of player he is. And so while obviously it would be great to see him score more and be more productive offensively, and I certainly think there is room for him to be more productive offensively, we were never looking at even an 80-point player probably in Matty Beniers there.
Yeah, I think that was always unrealistic. And especially right now, too, I think Matty's really embraced the whole playmaker thing. just given how hot his line mate Jordan Everly has been. I mean, for Everly, the shots are going in from everywhere. He's putting it in a lot. He's the team leading goal scorer now, and I think Matty's just embraced, okay, my winger's got it going right now. I'm going to try and find ways to get him the puck in good areas. And he has been doing that.
Yeah, he has. He's been really good at setting up Ebbs, and I thought he was really good at setting up Capo Caco tonight. Like, again, Capo Caco wasn't able to finish, but he had two awesome opportunities in this one, including that one at the very beginning of the game. I do think Capo Caco has done a good job in the last like couple games, certainly since he's been back up there with Matty Beniers, at being able to find open ice, particularly off the rush. Did not realize that Capo Caco could kind of move that fast and attack off the rush. I don't know that he's really ever been asked to do so in the National Hockey League since
He
he's
had some of those
been
last
here.
year, though, and like in Bilesma's
Yeah.
system, having to get up the ice real quick. Like he was more of a natural than you would think.
Yeah, yeah. But he's looking good in those opportunities, and Matty's doing a really good job of finding him when he's in those opportunities. He's just been a little bit snake bitten when it comes to the finishing. But I'm with you. Matty Beniers is doing a really good job becoming more of a playmaker right now. Mason here. Melanson was the missing piece to this team. Jacob Melanson, RJ, looking like a different guy from what we've seen in the past from him. I've been talking about it on the prospect chats. Anytime I kind of cover Coachella Valley, the slow evolution of Jacob Melanson as a player, and him learning not just to be more disciplined out there on the ice, but really understanding what kind of role he can play within a team and the value that he can add the right way, right? As being a pest and being a troublemaker and all of those kinds of things, but also in all the ways that aren't even necessarily as flashy as being a troublemaker or as a pest, just understanding certain areas of the ice, ways that you can go to the net front and try to tie up a defender, ways to tie up a defender if they're going to be coming out to try to play along the wall or behind the net. He's just doing so many things, picks through the neutral zone and stuff when other teams are trying to get back defensively. He's just doing such a good job right now all the way around. And I really want to give him a lot of credit for his growth as a player from what we saw in the queue to what we're seeing now. The coaches along the way that he's had in Coachella Valley. But no, he's turned into a really, really solid fourth line player.
Definitely. And Lane Lambert talked about him in the fourth line. And the way he described it, too, was the way they add that edge, but in a responsible way. And I think that hints at the changes that Melanson has made to his game since his time in juniors. That's huge for him. I think also, it's one of the best Jeff Merrick-isms. It's better to try and tame a lion than paint stripes on a kitty cat. And I think the Kraken have successfully tamed the lion here with Jacob Melanson, gotten him to play the right way, play responsibly, and be a productive player as well. I like just the opportunism, too, on that play, right? The Canucks defenseman, where he gets his first career point. Yeah. The Canucks defensemen kind of run into each other. That creates a chance that, look, if you hesitate at all, if you button hook, if you go into the zone slow, you're going to let them catch up, and there's not going to be much of a chance. Melanson sees the opportunity, goes immediately north, drives wide, and opens up a passing lane to Winterton. Like, he senses that right away, and he doesn't hesitate. And that's in his DNA as a hockey player, and it results in his first career point. We did talk to him after the game, and tell that first career point means a lot to me, because that's something that no one can ever take away from me. I've scored a point in the National Hockey League, and so good for him. He's absolutely right. No one can take that one away from him. He'll always be a point scorer in the NHL.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I do like that line of all Coachella Valley Firebirds guys coming together. And it did look natural, him playing with Ryan Winterton. Like, you could tell that they're guys who have played together before, and they certainly have decent amount. Just got a super chat here from Becca. Really appreciate it. Becca, Shane took defensive faceoffs and made plays. He was being allowed to cook. I was talking about Shane Wright a little bit before you joined us, but your thoughts on Shane Wright this evening, RJ?
Yeah, I thought he was fairly solid in this one. I mean, as far as the defensive zone draws, one thing I did notice was Chandler Stevenson in that line taking with more offensive zone starts than they usually have. It felt like, I didn't see what the final percentage was or anything, but I actually noticed him like taking some offensive zone draws and stuff. And I would think that would mean Shane Wright would get a little bit more of a defensive assignment. But overall, was impressive. Man, the moment that gets me with him is he is in perfect position on the power play in the slot. They get the pass right to him. His stick breaks. That one was really tough. I really believe if that stick stays intact, that puck is in. It was such a good setup. He's money from that spot. So bad luck. but overall, like the game.
God, it feels like so many guys on this team just bad luck. Berkeley Catton, bad luck. Kapukaka right now, bad luck. Shane, bad luck. It's tough.
I was like, not the vets, Ebbs and Stevenson and all those
Yeah,
guys. It's
no, they're
going
going
for
off.
them. That's
Yeah. Um, B here. Joey has 3 assists on the year. Wayne Gretzky has 0. I think we need to have a conversation.
yeah, another assist for Joey Decord. Didn't he have? Was it last night he had one also, or was it 2 games ago?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 2-game point streak for Joey Decord. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, going back through last season, so the last year and a half, that gives him 5 points. No other goalie has more than 3.
That's really cool. I mean, look, are we surprised? Are we really surprised? I think the most surprising part about his 5 points is that it doesn't include a goal.
Yes. No, yeah. No, I'm there. This one from Chuck. Without Hughes, Vancouver is becoming a thoroughly unlikable team. I can see why Garland got a vote or 2 for most punchable face. Obviously, he throws the elbow back at McCann. I talked for a decent amount of time about that kind of whole sequence, but your thought on that, and then just kind of the physical nature of this one, maybe some of Kiefer Sherwood's antics. Haven't had an opportunity to talk about those in this one, but I'm sure you have an opinion.
Yes, I definitely do. And I won't belabor the point on the Garland thing because I guess you've talked about it at length, and I already tweeted about it too. With the Garland thing, look, I don't like that elbow play. Jared McCann certainly didn't like it either. But I will say I do respect Connor Garland for McCann challenges him to fight. He answers the bell, he squares up, and he fights and solves it like a hockey player. And that's something that Lane Lambert was asked about. Well, McCann was asked about it too, and he just said, I didn't like the elbow, challenged him to fight. He accepted, and that was the end of that. And that's how it's supposed to work. Mason Marchment, that's how it's supposed to work. And I'm sure you mentioned that already on
Yep.
post game and everything. But respect to Garland for squaring up and answering the bell there. Like, can't ask for anything more than that, right? So as far as McCann fighting on that, though, like Lambert was asked about that, he didn't have a problem with it. He said, yeah, as far as whether he would rather somebody else jump in, he said, look, sometimes you have to handle things yourself. And he took care of it. So, so he did. So Lambert didn't have an issue with it. And really, I don't either. Like in this case, I don't like Jared McCann risking everything in a fight.
Yeah.
But, this is one that kind of has to be solved by the people involved, I feel like. And so McCann knows that. He's got a lot of pride. He's he's very much a by the book, by the code type of player.
Right.
And so also, what are the odds he gets hurt again? Like the law of averages states.
Don't even.
The law of averages states that he was going to be okay in that fight. It can't happen every time. I'm just saying that for my dad, who I know is listening. But
yeah,
he's showing me that Spinal Tap clip a lot.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say, yeah, it's a different situation than like if the player is injured on a play like that, or at least shaken up more severely than McCann was. Then it's like, okay, somebody else needs to get involved on his behalf. But a situation like this, yeah, I felt it was appropriate for McCann to handle it.
And not a big fan of the Sherwood antics. Like, I don't know what he was thinking this game. I don't know if the broadcast caught it too, but at the end of overtime or regulation, when the puck was cleared back down, he took a swat at it from the bench with still like 3 seconds left in the game. Also, he was like trying to play the puck from the bench. I don't think anyone really caught that.
Yeah,
but
didn't catch
that. He was just all over doing dumb stuff.
Yeah, the one that I will say was a smart move, and Edzo also kind of thought that it was a smart move, was on the delayed penalty, firing it into the empty net to try to get the Kraken player to respond and try to even things up. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that's a savvy move to do if you're gonna be a guy like that. And it nearly worked. The linesman kind of caught Tolvanen there. I think it was Tolvanen, but like it nearly worked. So I'm kind of like okay with that one. Overall, I think really he's just trying to, showcase exactly who he is, because he's going to get moved in like any day now.
Yeah, he's going to get moved any day, and he's going to get paid this summer. And I think that's all part of what's going to get him paid.
Yep, exactly. So, I don't love it, all that other stuff. But I think I at least understand why he's doing it that way. The third jerseys, RJ, because that's getting brought up again. Here's Czar talking about it. Please do not let them wear these jerseys next year. We've talked about it already, but boy, the third jersey curse. Like, there is, I said it before, if this game was played in like the 90s, or if this season was played in the 90s, a coach would have banned those jerseys.
Yes. No, I absolutely. Sorry, I had to watch out for my credential almost being stolen again by I think everybody knows who. Um, but I got it. Don't worry. Yeah, sorry. The third jerseys, that whole curse. Yeah, I think. Look, I was not a fan of them from the start. We talked about this on podcast when they were released. I didn't love the design. I I still like, I think it's silly that like third jersey curse or whatever, but it's been multiple jerseys over multiple years. And also, I don't know how else to explain them losing this game. I talked about it when I got on here. Like, there's no other good reason for them to lose this game. I don't know. Do we just cancel? I don't know if they can cancel the future games with them. I'm sure in the 90s they would find a way, but I'm sure there's all the marketing and all this stuff. Now there's too many departments you got to run everything through if you want to make that change.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like, Iron Mike Keenan would have burned the jerseys. He would have been like, "Oh,
Yeah.
you can't cancel the Knights like voluntarily. I will make the jerseys disappear so that we never have to wear them again." Right? Like I
Yeah.
just feel like coaches had a little bit more je ne sais quoi to them back then, you
hmm
know?
I mean, there's the other answer too, where they're a perfect 1-0 in third jerseys outdoors.
Right.
Find an
Take the roof
outdoor
off.
venue. Yeah,
Said this
it's getting
several
cold.
times.
It's like around
I've
40 degrees here.
It's fine. It's fine. You figure it out. That's
You
somebody else's
lifted the roof
problem.
off once before. You've
Mhm.
done it in the last 5 years. You should know how to do it again.
Retractable roof works amazing at T-Mobile. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. Everybody loves it. Add it to Climate Pledge. Just saying. Just
There
take
you
the
go.
top off a little bit sometimes. Okay, it's fine. So there's that component of it. Speaking of like older time hockey and yesteryear, RJ, and then also touching on what we talked about previously with some of the antics in this game. The thing that really was going through my mind during the first period as things were kind of, getting more physical, and Vancouver was kind of really trying to feel out the officials and see what they could get away with, and also if they could drag the Kraken kind of down to their level, which I think is very much what Vancouver was trying to do, and what something bad teams coached by somebody like an Adam Foote or a Dean Evison or a Craig Berube or any of these kinds of coaches would do. And it is a strategy. I don't know that it's the greatest strategy in the world and that it works for you long term, but it's a strategy that teams employ. This felt the most to me like an early 2010s Wednesday night rivalry game where it's just like there's bad blood and it almost matters more for the guys on the ice to get the other guys to like go to the penalty box or get involved in some scrap, and all that little petty stupid in game within the game stuff meant more to them than actually just trying to win the game outright, because that's how it felt like at times with this one.
Yeah, I could see that. Certainly on the Canucks side. I think the Kraken
Yeah,
more or
definitely.
less stayed focused. McCann took care of his business, but more or less they stayed focused. But yeah, on the Canucks side, it felt like that was one of the things they were trying to do, whether it's that Tyler Myers cross check or the Garland elbow or any of that stuff. And I think it is an attempt to bring the Kraken down to their level. I think that's one of the takeaways you get from watching this game, even through the first 20 minutes or so. It's pretty clear the Canucks are a much worse team than the Kraken. They are a rebuilding team. They don't have a whole lot working for them right now in terms of talent. And so I think they have some guys who have no problem resorting to that sort of thing. Myers, Garland, Sherwood. They've got these guys up and down the lineup. And so, yeah, I think that was something they were trying to do from the beginning. And I mean, it was effective tonight. I don't know whether it's just by luck that the Kraken couldn't put one past Lincoln. And you need the goaltending too. But,
Yeah.
I don't know that it got the Kraken off their game either. But I think they won the game. They got the 2 points. So I feel like they're going to feel rewarded for it.
Yeah, no, that's how it goes. For Mark here, I think this team is better than a lot of people think. Well coached, good goaltending, decent power play, about 11th, I think. PK is getting better. I predict third place in the Pacific. Do you share the same level of optimism as Mark there, RJ? I mean, I agree with a lot of the other points. I do think Lane Lambert's, coaching them to the best of his abilities and the best that the roster would allow him to, given all the injuries. Obviously, they've got the good goaltending right now. Joey Daccord is your second best goaltender because of how Philip Grubauer is playing. Power play is looking better. PK, you're facing some pretty bad, power plays most nights here during the last stretch. But hey, you're still getting it done. It is improving as a number. I'm not sure I'd go third in the Pacific, RJ, but I do agree. Like there are some positives to this team.
Yeah, I wouldn't go as far as third in the Pacific. And yeah, I can't disagree with any of the positive points there. Like you said, power plays there, goaltending's there. They're a well-coached team. I'm still amazed that Lane Lambert is able to get this kind of effort night in, night out of this group that I think you and I both thought was not possible. They've got all that going for them. That does not make a good team. It can get you some wins. It can take you far. You can be that team of destiny. I feel like we're back to the team of destiny conversation because the Kraken are kind of backtracking that way. They look a lot like early season Kraken, but it doesn't mean they're a good team. They do not have a lot of talent. They're getting by. I mean, if you look at their win streak recently, they are completely getting by on their goaltending, which again, that's part of the team. That's really good, but it's not always sustainable. Like, is Philip Grubauer a lights out goalie forever? I don't think so. Who knows how long that lasts? Third in the Pacific is asking a lot because there actually are 3 good teams in the Pacific Division. Like, that's the thing. Beyond that, like when we talk playoffs, wild cards, there are only 6 good teams in the Western Conference, and you could absolutely be the best of the bad. I don't think you get up into that good territory.
Yeah. Lindsay, I'm shocked that Dunn doesn't have a Gordie Howe hat trick already. We were very close with Jared McCann this evening. I did kind of think it was happening, right? He got 2/3 of it in the first period, or basically, right? And I was like, oh, maybe we get this.
Yeah, this was something we were discussing in the media room after the game, too. Jared McCann coming that close. Just needed the assist. And again, on the power play, you get a power play in overtime. McCann's out there. It feels very possible. There's only 4 players, 4 on 3, who can touch the puck. It'd be hard for a goal to happen and him not get an assist, right? Unfortunately, it doesn't come together for him. Is that just one of the, I don't even want to call it a curse, but just one of the things about this franchise? Is it going to take 15 years before someone gets a Gordie Howe hat trick? It's going to be just one of those weird things.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, yeah, fighting does not occur as much as it used to. Who knows? Like, I think that's a trend that's going to continue. Like I do think it's going to be one of those things where, the number of fights Kraken get into on a yearly basis could very well fall to just like 2 or 3. And I mean, we're basically there anyway. And it's just going to make things really difficult. I think are also going to see like star players less and less be involved in things like that. Guys that could reasonably have a goal and an assist in a game and which they also fought in, right? Like it just feels like it's just not something that we see in today's world anymore.
No, I mean, there's enough cautionary tales out there. Look at Brandon Montour. Look at Brandon Montour last week, getting hurt in that fight against Colorado. Like, it just doesn't make sense to have your stars doing that.
No, it just doesn't. It just doesn't. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here. So anybody put in a comment if we didn't get to anything. But one of the big conversations that's happening that I'm scrolling through and scrolling through and scrolling through, and I certainly did tease that you have an opinion on this with the Kraken, and I really tried hard not to just give it myself. I would give you credit, of course. But what you had texted me as kind of your take, and I think you tweeted it as well, for where the Kraken are right now, standings wise, and for what they should be aiming for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I do have a strong opinion on this, and I'm gonna get to it in the podcast tomorrow for sure. But in short, you look at the unusual circumstance in the Western Conference this year, and I thought John Barr, NHL to Seattle, did a great job making a visualization to kind of really demonstrate just how different things are this season as compared to previous years. It's all way more bunched up than it has been. The bar for making the playoffs in the Western Conference is going to be the lowest it's been in the salary cap era. At this rate, it's going to be insanely low. And yet, the teams at the bottom of the conference, at the bottom of the league, are the best they've ever been because it's all so bunched up. So, look, the Kraken need to pick a direction. Pick a solid direction, go with it. And I think they need to either A, make the playoffs, or B, get top 3 lottery odds. I don't particularly care which one it is. I guess if you press me, I have thoughts about which one I prefer. But if you achieve one of those two, I don't really care which one it is. But you have to walk away from this season with one of those two things accomplished. Otherwise, you have to view it as a serious, serious failure for this organization because each of those 2 goals are as easy as they will ever be. The bar will never be lower to make the playoffs. The bar will never be lower, higher, whatever, more attainable to get top 3 lottery odds. you have to get out of the season with one of those two. So that's my new expectation for the team this season. I'm judging everything based off that. They got to pick one direction or the other. That's my main kind of takeaway.
Yeah, heard it here first. RJ, big fan of Harry Styles before he went solo. The One Direction there.
Yes, yes.
I have to appeal to our older audience. Nobody wants the 6-7 references, so I gotta go with
Well,
that.
there you go. That's what makes you beautiful, going.
Our contemporaries, we remember One Direction. Got some good stuff here at the end to close it out with. First off, though, and I did think about this. I almost challenged you on it, but I didn't. You said that there were 3 good teams in the Pacific, and everybody's trying to figure out what the third team is.
The third team, I guess, is Anaheim.
I think they're in that range, yeah.
I was hesitating to name them as a third good team, but Anaheim actually does have a pretty serious lead on the Kraken in the standings. The Kraken would have to go on quite a run to pass them, I think. They banked enough points.
The analytics support them a lot more than say San Jose or the Kings as well. So there's also,
again, I could dive way deeper into this, but you look at remaining strength of schedule this season. The Kraken have
so cushy.
Yeah, very cushy, and the Kraken have the toughest remaining schedule in the West. So that also is just an uphill battle you're fighting if you're trying to catch them.
Yeah, we do have a super chat here, RJ, in relation to your big point about the Kraken having to choose a direction. It's from P-Boss here. Thank you very much for the super chat, by the way, and I love you doing this. Which direction, RJ? Here's some pressure.
Okay, yeah, no, if you press me, like I said, I will give my thoughts on which direction. I think this should be a surprise to anybody, but I think the direction should be down. This core is not look, the Kraken, you could finish the season as an 86-point team and make the playoffs. In fact, it's what I think they will end up doing. That is not sustainable in any way. And I know this management group would turn it into a repeat of year 2. They would view that as we're all geniuses. We made it work. The plan worked. And they would largely run back with a similar setup. They might make one mid-level addition and then call it a big move or something. But that might be the worst thing that could happen for this team long-term with how the organization is. And if they continue to operate the way that they have operated, I think it's much better to get a top 4 pick in this year's draft, sell off the veterans, and then make some real changes. I think that's also maybe the best chance of potentially cleaning house, which I'm starting to think maybe nothing will really change until that happens. So that's a whole other issue. But yeah, I would say the way to go is down. As tempting as it is, because look, this wild card race is every team in it is so bad. I understand the temptation, and I wouldn't hate it if they pulled it off and made the playoffs. But yeah, the way to go is to sink in the standings. They just also all their success is based coming off of Jordan Eberle, Ellie told either UFAs or veterans who are over the age of 30. It's not sustainable at all.
No, it's not. I absolutely would say go for the top 3 lottery odds. Please. Please do that. I'm very much on board with that. And I'm not just saying that because it's World Junior time and I'm watching all of these guys play right now. And I just, would love to see them in a Kraken sweater. Gonna go lightning round here, RJ, to close things out. From Stratic, what was your favorite goal?
Oh man, my favorite goal. Let's see.
I don't have.
I mean, I know there's only 2 to choose from. There's only 2 to choose from.
One-timer. Come on.
It is the Jared McCann one-timer. Yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah, it has to be. It's just too good. Haven't seen it in so long. Just
I love the Firebirds connection, though. That's what kept bringing me back. But yeah, no, I love the McCann one-timer.
It's the McCann. There's something special about seeing that. For Mr. Nobody, can we pull the goalie in overtime to avoid shootouts? Invader answering that you can, but if the other team scores, you lose out on the loser point there. But I did see it discussed earlier, just that basically the team is so bad in shootouts, is it still not worth potentially losing that loser point just to try to score in a 5-on-4 scenario there?
No, because the loser point is still worth half a win, and I don't like their odds if they try and do that sort of thing. So I don't think it makes sense for them right now.
I agree. It unfortunately doesn't because of how the points.
The adjustment you make is to play more aggressively in overtime, which I think they kind of have been. I mean, they've drawn penalties. It feels like the last couple. They've done it right.
Yeah. No, I definitely. And then from Mason, is the backup goalie curse our worst curse? As the Kraken always get goalied, RJ, by the backup goalie.
Well, I think that one may be a bit of kind of statistical bias there because the Kraken more often than not face the backup goalie. They face the backups more than they face the starter this season. So when they get goalied, greater odds are it's by a backup just because they're playing the backups more often.
There's also the element of what is the common factor in all of these games? Is it the backup goalie that they're playing that they're going to face maybe twice a season? Or is it them who are playing each and every one of these games?
Yeah. Could it be that this Kraken team has trouble scoring and that's just a consistent thing and it makes sense? I don't know.
You know, if they ever listened to Eddie Olczyk and they elevated the puck, RJ, maybe they could get past some of these backup goaltenders. Taking a lot of flack for saying older audience, calling our audience older. I will say, I like I said, I meant more like millennial versus like a Gen Z or Gen Alpha, which is very much prevalent on YouTube now. Also saying, I do have access to our YouTube analytics, and our audience is older than you would probably guess. Many of you in the chat here,
Yeah, that is
do tend
true.
to skew
I mean, hey,
older.
we're both on the wrong side of the aging curve now.
We are. Vast majority of our audience would no longer be able to be in the NHL. I will say that. And yeah, that's some funny stuff. One Direction was formed in 2010. That feels like an eternity ago, does it not?
Yeah, I remember the Jonas Brothers. Oh God.
I was gonna say, don't get me started there. They're back in the cultural zeitgeist though. Like One Direction was
That's
a
true.
nice
They are
pull,
back.
I feel like, you know. And then many people asking if I'm Minnesota ready or in Minnesota already. I'm not in Minnesota yet. I will be for come Friday. I will be in Minnesota. As for being Minnesota ready, I mean, if the bomb cyclone ends, yes, right. Before that, it was looking like low 30s, maybe high 20s. That I think I can handle. This whole like insane winds, blizzards, nobody can fly, nobody can drive anywhere because it's like 10 feet of snow in 24 hours. Don't know that I'm ready for that, but I also don't know that there's anything more I could do to possibly become ready for that. It sounds like Minnesota wasn't even really ready for that.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot. Certainly not in your T-shirt. I'd say just stay comfortable there while you
My
can.
O'Neill surf, beachy T-shirt. I'm not ready for the -4 degree weather. Probably not.
Beach guy through and through.
I was out in like 40 something degree weather yesterday in a Hawaiian shirt and shorts. I can handle some stuff. I know there was a big gap there of about 48 degrees, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm excited for it though. Really excited. World Juniors has been phenomenal to watch. It's unfortunate there hasn't too many Kraken prospects this year, but it's so far been a really fun tournament to enjoy, and I'm just so excited to go and see what's going to happen, especially with like Finland getting upset by Czechia today. It was an overtime game, but what that might mean for what sort of Final Four I get to witness. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. And then obviously the big matchup with to see and Slovakia playing USA close today too. I don't know if anybody saw that, but 6-5
Feels like there's a
USA
lot of
was able to
parity
squeak out of
in the
that.
tournament this year.
Yeah, there's been some good ones. Canada nearly upset by Latvia for the second year in a row. I just love that program so much. That Latvian
Latvia's
program.
awesome.
They're so
Love
good.
Latvia.
It's so good. They show up for one game each and every year, and that's Canada. It's so much fun. Incredible quote that I can't repeat on YouTube without getting demonetized from their coach after that one as well. But really great stuff. So yeah, I'm really excited for it. If there's a day to watch everybody, it's going to be Wednesday, because that's when we're going to get Finland, Canada in the group stage, and USA, Sweden. And that's going to go a long way to determining their standings going into the knockout stage of the tournament. So if you're going to pay attention to a day, everybody, pay attention on Wednesday. They've got some really good matchups there.
Okay, one thing real quick. It reminded me, the quote that you can't say reminded me of something involving something I can't say here. But at the intermission, they did the $500,000 shot, as they'll do sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you have to make it in a little target at the end, at the net at the end from half or 3/4 of the ice or whatever. And the guy who was doing it was getting the crowd hyped up and everything. And he handed the mic, here we go. And he said, "Let's effing go." But he said the word,
Mhm.
and everyone was like, "Oh, okay." And so then, and he's like waiting to take the shot, and he's like doing this, everyone get hyped, and he swings and almost entirely misses the puck. It's just
No.
enough to send it literally no more than like 3 inches. The puck barely moves, but it moves. That counts as a shot. Did not even get it a little bit behind the far blue line. Did not get it over the far blue line. Yeah, it was pretty anticlimactic there.
That's a bummer. That's a bummer because it sounds like he was selling it. That's a good lead up. I respect for doing that. Credit to them for doing
And he
that.
was
That's the way
looking
you
at
got to handle
Strawberry,
it.
like they were looking at each other, like not sure if he was allowed to like try it again because the puck
Yeah.
barely moved, but it did move, and I think according to the rules, that's it.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So that's going to do it for this post game live presented by Queen Anne Beer Hall. And again, reminder that those awesome Kraken specials apply to Torrent games as well. Torrent yesterday, disappointing in the takeover game in Dallas. But speaking of, Joey Decord getting an assist and points, Hannah Murphy picking up her first career point in the PWHL in that game yesterday. So shout out to Hannah Murphy for that one.
Yeah, she's been such a treat to watch. I've really enjoyed the Torrent so far. And yeah, the Beer Hall fully on board with all the Torrent stuff too. Not just a great place to watch a Kraken game, great place to watch a Torrent game. They even got official watch parties there. It's awesome.
Merch pop up. Yep.
Yep.
Lots of good stuff. So thanks to them for sponsoring. Thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks to those who gave super chats, and we will see you all next time.